right here on the Nikki Maduro Show. Myself and Kim McAllister. And hello, hello.
Well, good
Thank you to everybody
morning.
for. Well, good morning. And look who started us off with the $5 donation live show.
What?
Yeah, Joanne. Thank you,
Oh,
thank you,
thank
thank you,
you.
thank you. I do miss having all of the comments
Mm-hmm.
during our show. We do miss that as well. Thanks so much, you guys, for joining us. We are going to be talking about PG&E. Yes, we were getting screwed once again. I know somebody had mentioned in the comments yesterday, Kim, they're like, I don't know if I can handle another great Loretta Lynch interview because it makes me so angry. I find hope with Loretta Lynch. I really honestly do. And so it's going to be a great interview. I had to record it yesterday because that's when she was available. And she wrote this amazing op ed. But don't worry, we're going to be here. I'm going to air it live. You guys are going to be watching, but we'll throw up the comments. If there's something that you guys want to address real quickly, we could pause it and do that. But I want to, kind of get through the interview and then get through your comments. And then after that, I will go over the survey that I put out. It was in the show notes all week long regarding this new kind of revamped type of show, just to let you guys know that we're reading them. We're listening to you and kind of debate, with you guys a little bit about what could be coming. It is a work in progress. I just want you guys to know that because, again, life's tough. The Bay Area is expensive and we got to do what we got to do. So before we get to any of it, please, you guys, click the thumbs up button. Show your support for the show that way. Make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you hit that bell because if you don't hit that bell, then you're going to miss out in whatever we're doing here on the Nikki Maduro Show. We do appreciate the support. Again, thank you so much to Joanne for starting us off with a $5 super sticker. Thank you. But you can support us in many ways. You can donate to our Patreon and become an official Madorable. Go to thenikkimadoroshow.com. Our Patreon link is right there. And we really depend on this money to keep any type of show going on YouTube. It does still take a lot of work and a lot of love and effort to do this. And then if you like PayPal, just go to paypal.com, hit that send button, and put in the email address, thenikkimadoroshow.com, thenikkimadoroshow.com. And then, of course, as always, you have to nab up this delicious barbecue sauce and hot sauces from Auntie Tabby's Island Flavors. If you go to auntie and use the coupon code Nick Kim or Nikki M, NIKKIM is the coupon code, and you get 10% off every single order. I have to rebuy my stuff. I'm almost out of hot sauce because you know how I am. I have to add it with the barbecue sauce and the hot sauce. So
You're really going through it. Wow.
You know me, man. I love my hot sauce. I'm telling you, I'm going to tell Tabby, though, that she needs to make like travel bottles so I can shove it in my purse and take it with me because it's that freaking good. So, yeah.
Refillable travel bottles, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that'd be a good idea. I could get the big one with a pump on it and then fill up the little ones, just like my, hair products and things like that. All right. Yeah. Antitabbies.com. Coupon code Nick Kim, NIKKIM. Thank you guys so very much for all your support. And a bunch of you have reached out and said you've purchased it, you love it. So get some more of that delicious sauce. Okay, let's get into PG&E. All right. Now, again, Loretta Lynch is the former president of the CPUC. As you will hear in this interview, I wish she still was, because there's just something so wrong of what's going on. But I'm telling you, at the end of this interview, you will have a little bit of hope. I'm telling you, Loretta Lynch will explain why, there's a little bit of hope. I think there's a breaking point, in all honesty. I think that people are hitting a breaking point, and so it's going to come to fruition, but it's going to take work from us, engagement from us. And yes, Heather, we are live today. Hello. Hi. So yes, we are live.
You know what? For many reasons, I love a Loretta Lynch interview, but
yes,
it makes me feel like I'm not crazy. I'm not suffering alone, right? I'm so mad over it. Yes. And it's like, I would be, I'll talk to my friends and family and say, how's your PG&E bill? Like, is this crazy or what? But she comes through and tells me exactly why and exactly what's going on. And I feel like, okay, now at least I'm still angry about it, but now I get why I'm angry
Right.
about it, right?
Right,
Like,
exactly. But there is an answer. There is something that we can do. And so Loretta will get into that. Thank you, Marilyn, so much for the $5 super sticker.
yay.
Thank you so very much. Brian, the survey, if you go into the show notes, you can still fill it out. There's not an end date on this survey. Scroll down, I think just a little bit past what we're talking about today, and you'll see something that says new survey. Click that link. It'll bring you right to it. It's one question. And then you can leave like a little comment or whatever if you want to. So anybody that hasn't done it yet, you guys can fill it out. After the Loretta Lynch interview, we will go over the survey. We'll talk a little bit about some of these ideas. And then Kim and I will talk off air about, what's really going to work. But I do appreciate, I think 150 of you the first couple of days filled out the survey. So
wow.
a lot of people have filled it out. And so it seems like there's a way you guys are leaning. So we'll talk about that. Okay, let's get into the Loretta Lynch interview. Again, Kim and I are going to be here live. We'll throw up some of your comments as well. So make sure you're commenting or whatever. Hold on. Wrong button. So here is my interview with Loretta Lynch. Again, we did this yesterday. Thank you so much, Harvey.
Harry.
Here we go.
It's Harry. Harry Magnan.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. And now, without further ado, Loretta Lynch. Okay, so it's one of my favorite and least favorite topics all at the same time, which is, of course, how PG&E is screwing every single Californian. And there was a op-ed in the San Francisco Chronicle written by one of our favorite people, which is Loretta Lynch, the former president of the California Public Utilities Commission. Loretta, thank you so much for coming back on the Nikki Maduro Show.
Nikki, thank you so much for having me.
Okay, I loved your op-ed. Not only did you send it to me, not only did I see it, I had so many Nikki Maduro Show listeners sending it to me like, oh my God. Now, longtime listeners knew a lot about what you've been talking about in this op-ed. Just for those that don't know, the headline alone speaks volumes. It says, here's the real reason PG&E rates are skyrocketing in California. Give us the reason.
The PUC has failed to do its job to control costs. That's the PUC's job. All costs spent by the utilities must be just and reasonable, or they are unlawful. And the PUC is turning backflips to give PG&E whatever it wants, as soon as it wants, without doing its job. And so costs are out of control.
Why does that happen with this current CPUC?
Well, that is the literally $1 trillion question, because that's how much we're spending over time on PG&E. I really don't understand it, because why would you take that job if all you're going to do is rain approbation down on you by being a lackey for the utility? Unless later you want a utility job, which is very sadly what a lot of former PUC commissioners are doing these days. There's this revolving door between the PUC and the utilities, and as they give the utilities gifts, then they revolve in that door and go on to the utilities for multi-million-dollar salaries. There's a bill in the legislature to stop that, or at least to prolong the bar against going to the utilities, which is AB 2054 from Rebecca Bauer-Kahn. And she originally said 10 years, you can't do it. And the committee made her drop that to 3 years, but 3 years is better than 1 year. And we need to support Assemblymember Bauer-Kahan's bill, because it does some reform. The problem is some of the other bigger reform bills just were killed this week in the legislature.
And one of those was, I believe, SB 938, correct?
Yes. State Senator Dave Min, who's running, I believe, for Katie Porter's seat, it's for Congress. He wanted to stop customers paying for all of PG&E's lobbying and their advertising. You've probably seen that ubiquitous ad with Peppy Patty Poppe, the PG&E CEO, out there in a hard hat saying, we're safe. And don't you worry, we're building things to make you safer. Well, those ads cost tens of millions of dollars, and we are paying for them so that PG&E can indoctrinate us to go along and get along with their outrageous cost increases.
So what happened with this Senate bill? I mean, why would the state legislature, I guess, not kind of carve out this clarification within this bill? And kind of what was PG&E's argument for being against it?
Because they want their customers to pay for everything, basically.
Well, basically. But they're claiming that this money isn't coming from us, correct?
Oh, it is absolutely coming from us. One way or the other, it's coming from us because every penny PG&E spends is from us. There's just a bucket that says profits. And so some things are paid for out of the profits bucket. Otherwise, they would go to the shareholders. And PG&E just reported, again, record profits. Hello. And why are they record? Because the PUC is just throwing money at PG&E. That's why. So PG&E wants to protect the bucket of money that we give them that's called profits. And then they want to increase the other buckets of money for operating expenses, advertising, lobbying. Because if you have a blank check for lobbying, then you can hire every lobbyist at the PUC and at the legislature that you want. And that's how Senator Minn's bill gets killed. And so we need to stop paying for PG&E's lobbyists to work against us and work, for increased bills. We stop paying for PG&E's lobbyists at the PUC to be making outrageous demands that then the PUC acquiesces to and is complicit in. And we certainly need to stop paying for those crazy ads where lots of different, pretty PG&E peppy people are telling us all the things they're doing for us, when in fact they are just picking our pocket.
Yeah, I think I just got one of the lowest bills I've received in a while. It was still around $200. And the only way I got it to that is because I turned everything off. So I'm paying $200 to get nothing. My lights are on, but that's it. That's it.
The reason you got that low bill in April was because there's a once a year climate credit that PG&E is required to share with its customers. We don't get all of it, but they share this climate credit. So if PG&E is reducing their carbon emissions on a particular climate market, they get paid to reduce their climate emissions. And then they share some of that money with their customers once a year. So in April, everybody's bills went down some because we all got a share of the climate credit for using cleaner energy. Now, PG&E didn't decide out of its beneficence to use that cleaner energy. There's a state law that requires them to use cleaner energy, but they get paid, a little bit to use cleaner energy, and then they share a piece of that with us. But just you wait till May, because the PUC increased rates both, starting in January, but then they just did it again in March. They increased rates on what they call an interim basis. And so that rate increase actually hit in April, but it was covered by this climate reduction.
Oh.
But in May, we won't have the climate reduction and we will have the increased rates, and your bill is going to shoot up. It's going to be really painful in May. Plus, of course, we switched to our summer rates at the end of May. And so it's a 1, 2, 3 whammy. It's the rate increase from January, it's the new rate increase from March, and it's the summer bill. And oh my gosh, people are going to be hurting.
Well, and that surprises me on why the state legislature would turn away any sort of help for their constituents. I can only imagine the calls. I know I've gotten emails like, I hear you, we're supporting, there's that other bill, that 1999 bill that, is supposed to increase or stop the increases from happening or cap them in some way. I mean, what is the state legislature thinking? Is it simply because they're lobbied so hard?
Well, so here's the good news. The good news is the cap on the income graduated new fixed charge bill, AB 1999, had 20 co-authors. So that's a lot for a 120 member legislature. And we have dozens of PUC reform bills that legislators tried. And that's a big difference from last year and certainly the years before, when there were very few PUC reform bills and very few bills aimed at lowering rates, lowering the cost. So the good news is the legislature gets that there's a problem. And many legislators have been actively working to fix it in a variety of ways. The big kahuna here is the governor. And, the governor did not want that bill to be heard, and it has not been heard, AB 1999. And that is a real problem. And then some legislators who would like to fix things think, well, why spend a lot of time and energy just to get a veto? So they're not doing it this year. So the good news is we've got a lot more focus, a lot more legislators caring about this issue and trying to do something. The bad news is it's not more than 50%. And so we need to work in the elections that are coming up to make sure we get the most pro-consumer state assembly members and state senators that we possibly can. And we need to get those folks to commit to voting for SB 938 or its successors, and voting for AB 1999 or its successors next year, because we can fix some of these problems next year if we can't fix them this year. In the meantime, of course, the PUC is just continuing the gravy train to PG&E whenever they want. That's the real problem here. That's what I wrote about.
Well, there was another article, PG&E's top boss, obviously, the CEO, Patricia Poppe. She has suggested that PG&E's ratepayers may see monthly utility bills flatten out and someday even fall below their current levels, which, by the way, are astronomical. The fact that she even gave that quote is mind-boggling, that they're not satisfied with how much people are paying right now. They said they hope to bring prices closer to the inflation rate, or at least in the 4% to 5% range. Your thoughts on that?
They hope and pray, but that's not what they're asking for at the PUC. They're asking for double-digit rate increases at the PUC. So she hopes that something might change, but in the meantime, please, PUC, give us more money. And what we really know is what she tells Wall Street. And what PG&E told Wall Street in 2020 was that they were going to require a 7% rate increase for 7 years just to pay for the bankruptcy bailout costs. That's not to pay for other costs that PG&E wants. And so what she hopes and suggests to the public to try to get them off her back is not what she's promising Wall Street and asking for from the PUC. And so when you look at the facts of what PG&E is asking for, all this talk, all her talk is just talk, because the way they're walking is into double-digit rate increases this year, next year, and even the year thereafter. So I would say that Patty Poppe is much like Lucy in the football. If we go ahead and try to kick that football and believe her on her hopes yet again, then we deserve to fall flat on our back, because it's just not true.
I mean, I know that she makes a bunch of money. There was this Chronicle report about how much she made. She took home, according to the Chronicle, $17 million in 2023, in the fiscal year 2023. That includes a $1.4 million salary, $11.8 million in stock awards, and that was up nearly $3 million from 2022. I know apparently she's not the top one, but you were saying before we joined, her salary has been much higher.
Yeah. So when she first joined, she got this big signing bonus, and she made about, I believe it was $51 million the first year she got there. Now that was with stock and incentives and her signing bonus and all that stuff. So just because she didn't get the signing bonus each and every year doesn't mean that her income for the last 3 years, because she's been CEO, I think this is coming on her third year, isn't way above everybody else's. So if you just take the little snapshot of this year without the entirety of her signing bonus and all the original stock options she got, it really does make it appear much lower than what it actually is.
Well, and here's the thing. And PG&E is like, well, we have to pay her so much so that she's a successful CEO. But success to me is you have happy customers. I go ahead, try to find a happy PG&E customer. I mean, nobody's happy except the shareholders. And so, I mean, I know that we just keep hitting our head against the wall here, Loretta, but it's a bit rich for them to be like, we have to pay her more so she does a good job. You're doing a pretty crappy job, according to me, the customer, in running your business.
Yeah, but she's doing a great job of picking our pockets and making sure that the PUC is a lapdog and not a watchdog, and making sure that the legislature isn't pushing PG&E to change. So in that sense, oh man, are they lining the corporate profits? And that's what they're rewarding her for. So in that sense, she's doing her main job, which is to make more money for PG&E, which means that we pay more. But you and I know that the more Californians pay, both families and businesses, we can't forget that businesses are screaming too, the worse our economy does. And at some point, there comes a point of no return where we are just harming our economy, hurting our businesses, clearly we know hurting our families, probably pushing some of them into just drastic choices of food versus electricity, housing versus electricity, clothing versus electricity, for no good reason except for to pump up PG&E's profits. And that is why I actually am optimistic that eventually the legislature will require change, because our economy cannot withstand these unwarranted cost increases.
What about adjusting the income levels where you can qualify for some of these programs that help you reduce your bills? Is that even a possibility? Because it seems to be too low. I mean, people can make six figures and still not afford their PG&E bill.
So right now we have two different low income programs. One is if you're 200% of poverty, which is about $30,000 for one person and $60,000 for a family of four. So that's, not a lot of money, $30,000 for one person. You can get up to 35% discount on your energy bill. You have to apply, you have to show your income, you have to be eligible. And then there's another higher level, 250% of poverty for families, and that's called the FARA program. And so those are great programs. The problem is 1 in 4 California families are already in those programs. So if you expand that pot, that means and you don't attack the overflowing bucket of unwarranted costs. That just means there are more costs to spread over the other customers. And that, ultimately just doesn't work. We need to get the cost bucket down. But what I would say is even PG&E's low income customers pay more than the Sacramento Municipal Utility District's average customer. That's what's so crazy. So I don't know if you can share your screen, but I have a little chart that shows that if you want to see it.
If you can put it in the chat, I can copy it and put it up on my screen. I can't share your screen, but I could do it from here. So send that to me. Because the thing is, I tried to apply just as a experiment. I knew that I made more. I guessed that I had made more too. And the funny part about the damn thing is PG&E can't do anything right. I want them to send me a paper bill because I like to look at it and delve into it instead of it just being this. They won't mail it to me. They keep not sending me any notification about my bill. And then they actually mail me the rejection of getting any sort of assistance to pay my bill. And I'm like, so you do know my address. I'm glad to know that, but you won't send me a bill. You won't email me my bill even. I have to remember whatever date around the day. I'm like, I think PG&E's due. They don't even email it to me. They don't mail it. They don't email it to me. They can't do anything right. I'm telling you.
Well, you have a right to a paper bill if you want it. So
I've said it. I went in there. I said, no, I want a paper bill. And they have not. I don't know if there's something wrong in their system.
Well, one thing you can't do is complain to the PUC about that. So the PUC will accept complaints. Now, a lot of them they don't do anything with, but that's just a clear violation of the requirement that if you want a paper bill, you can get a paper bill. Because I get a paper bill for that exact reason, because then I can see over time just how much more I'm paying.
Right, exactly. All right. So if you see a button on the side that says private chat, you could put the link into that. And then I'll put it up on the screen. Because the other thing I think a lot of people are thinking of, Loretta, is how do we just break away from the monopoly that is PG&E? There is no competition for PG&E. They are beholden to their shareholders, as we know. Obviously, at this point with this legislature and this governor, which again is the most heartbreaking thing, the guy that says he's always looking out for California, one California, doesn't seem to want to work with us on this. Okay. So we're not able to get it up. It's okay. What does the slide show?
It basically shows, it's just a bar graph that shows that low income customers for PG&E, Edison, and San Diego Gas and Electric all pay more than the average customer in Sacramento, because Sacramento has a government-run municipal utility, and they have a lot lower costs because they spend money on maintaining and operating their system, but they don't charge a profit. There's no profit. So right there, about 15 to 16% less, but also they don't create new infrastructure programs just to pump up their profits, because the utilities profit on new stuff, new
Right.
capital,
Like
new
cell phone
infrastructure.
companies do. They give you the bells and the whistles and all that to kind of do that. I get
Exactly.
that.
And so the utilities are always wanting to change out a pole that is perfectly fine with a new pole so that they can profit on the new pole once they've already completed taking all their profits on the old pole. They want to just put up more stuff so that they can make more profit. And that's really one of the reasons behind their undergrounding initiative, because a lot of the lines they want to underground are not necessarily in the highest fire threat districts, according to reports from the state government. Instead, they are lines that PG&E has fully profited on. So once they can't bring a penny more profit, they want to replace that line so they can profit again. And they want to replace it in the most expensive way possible, which is undergrounding, instead of just covering the conductor, which is the little piece that connects the line to the pole. And study after study has shown that covering conductors is a lot cheaper, a lot faster, and just as safe. So why wouldn't we cover the conductors cheaper, faster, safe, just as safe, rather than give PG&E billions of dollars, literally $5.9 billion, so that they can underground these lines and make a ton more profit off of the new undergrounded lines? That's what's crazy.
And is it the CPUC that should be asking those questions to PG&E every time they have their hands out?
Absolutely. The CPUC should be holding hearings and having discovery and putting PG&E's witnesses under oath so that they can be cross-examined about the assumptions they have about undergrounding, about another group of smart meters that don't work. You know, there's a huge problem in the Sacramento area, in PG&E territory, not in SMUD territory, where everybody's smart meters are going out at once, and then bills are then estimated, and then people are getting socked with huge bills when the guy comes out and fixes the smart meter. Turns out that the smart meters were all put in at about the same time, and the batteries are dying. And PG&E knew this, but because they're not going to make much money on replacing batteries, they've really not prioritized going out and replacing the batteries. And so people don't know how much energy they're using, and so they can't adjust based on, their bill, because their bill is just an estimate and not reality. And PG&E's, we'll get around to it. We got a backlog, because they're not prioritizing that, because they don't make money from that. Now, SMUD is going to keep those kinds of things running because it's about a customer service, because they're not in the business of making money. They're in the business of serving their customers. SMUD being the Sacramento Municipal Utility District. So that's the big difference. And ultimately, as long as we've got PG&E profiteering off of our system, it's never going to run well.
Is there any chance of changing PG&E into something like SMUD? Is there any way of making it not kind of this shareholder beholden company?
Sure, we could change state law and have the state or the localities take over PG&E. And I know that San Francisco is working hard to take over PG&E in the city and county of San Francisco. In San Diego, there's going to be a ballot measure this November, I think, if they can get enough signatures to get it on the ballot, where they're going to take over SDG&E. The city would, through a city-run utility like SMUD or LADWP or Healdsburg. There are all sorts of city-run utilities. Palo Alto has a city-run utility.
I think San Jose is trying to do that as well. I think I remember hearing something about that.
Yeah, San Jose is basically saying for new development where there used to be a farm and now there's going to be houses or businesses, we, San Jose, are going to be the city that connects you, not PG&E. So they're not fighting with PG&E over their current customers. They're just saying all new customers are going to be part of the city utility district.
Well, if there was ever a reason to buy new.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, except for all the other people like me who live in the part that's already with PG&E and I want to get off of it. Now, I understand the need to, obviously have regulations. And is it against the law for the CPUC not to regulate PG&E? Like, are they doing something illegal?
I think they are. I think what they just did in March, they granted what they called an interim rate increase. So PG&E came in and said, we would like $5.7 billion in our uncollected costs. And we would like 85% of that right now. And then later in our next rate case, you can look to see whether or not we were entitled to that money. Well, first, a consumer group came in and said, hey, they don't have $5.7 billion in uncollected costs. At most, they've got $2.7 billion. And this other $3 billion, or more than half of it, they're already asking you for over here and over here and over here. So they're basically double dipping. PG&E admitted that, but then said, hey, we'd still like the 2.7. Thank you. Okay, well, they caught us. It's not 5.7, it's 2.7, but please give us that up front before you decide whether or not that's reasonable. And the PUC said, well, wow, we're going to give you 75% of it up front. So ultimately, it came down to $516 million because the consumer group whittled that number down further and further. But the PUC just authorized $516 million to go on our bills starting this month. And they don't even know whether that's reasonable. They don't even know whether what PG&E's estimate is what it's cost, because they didn't do any discovery. There's no evidence. There's no hearings. There's no witnesses. There's no cross-examination. There's no nothing. PG&E asked, they got it, and the PUC said, we'll look at the specifics in 3 years. And if we were wrong, we'll order refunds after that. Well, you and I know what's going to happen in 3 years. PG&E's one, already going to have spent the money somewhere. And
Right.
Two, they're going to say, well, you can't make us give money back because the markets thought we already got that money. You've already authorized that money. And so, that would affect our credit rating if you clawed money back from us, even though they said in the decision, we reserve the right to claw that money back. Well, nobody's going to remember that in 4 years.
Right.
And so basically the PUC just blew by so many laws that they did not follow in order to give them money up front before they held a hearing to determine whether the costs were just and reasonable. And I believe that violates the law, and that the PUC should be held to account for that violation.
But who holds them to account?
Well, either some of the groups that were in that case need to appeal that to a court. Okay. And in San Diego, they recently also just newly gave an interim rate increase, and the groups are starting to take the appeal to the court. I hope that groups here in the Northern California will do the same, or the governor says stop that, or the legislature says stop it. But it's going to take the governor, the legislature, or a court to tell the PUC to stop breaking the law.
I mean, I know some people have already, hinted that they might be going for the governor's position, obviously to run for governor of California. Any of them so far that you're like, maybe they would actually hold PG&E accountable? Do we have a pro-consumer candidate or even running for the legislature that you know of right now?
Let's see. Well, I do know that former Congress member Jerry McNerney beat out a pro-fossil fuel person for the primary in the far East Bay. And so he's running for the state Senate. And I think he's pretty pro-consumer and pro-environment. But ultimately, as to the governors, I think, Nikki, that you need to have each and every one of them on your show and ask them the questions.
Yeah, Javier, I was just Googling again. It was Javier Becerra that just is hinting that he's going to be running. I know it's early, obviously really early. I've given up on Governor Newsom. It's disappointing that someone that, when the gas prices start going up again, I will be enraged if I see him stand in front of a microphone and say, I am committed to protecting the consumer, when he's full of crap, Loretta, pardon my language, because he's not. It is unreasonable to have the number of rate increases we've had and are going to have in the very near future for nothing. It's just to pad PG&E's profits. And I'm so frustrated and so disappointed. And I know we've talked about this before. Kim feels the same way, that Newsom of all people is so bought and paid for by PG&E, and it's so obvious, and it sucks. You feel helpless.
Well, I do think that there is benefit in pushing the legislature. And the great news is the two new leaders of the legislature, Assemblymember Robert Rivas from Salinas and State Senator Mike McGuire from Healdsburg, are in Northern California. So your listeners can call them or email them or text them and say, hey, get rates down now.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys create a committee? You could have a joint legislative committee to investigate PUC reform. How does the PUC need to be reformed? Because everybody believes the costs need to come down. They just have different ideas of how to get there, basically. And most everybody, aside from maybe some people, aren't believing Patty Poppe when she hopes and prays that costs are going to come down, because we know what her company's really doing, which is asking for more. So maybe we really, maybe the leadership, if they hear from your listeners, might take this on systemically, because ultimately that's what we need to do. Because, a law here or a law there fixing this or that problem from the PUC isn't going to be enough, given how off the rails the PUC has become.
Yeah. And that AB 1999, that's the one that you were telling me has been shelved until next year. I mean, part of me, as you were saying that, was thinking, why didn't they make the governor veto it? Like, why not make him show his cards? I would have been like, fine, if you're going to veto it, you're going to do it publicly. I'm going to put this bill on your desk and you tell Californians that you're against lowering or capping the rate increases.
Well, and I do think that the Assembly member, Jackie Irwin, was very courageous in saying that she wanted her bill heard, even when a lot of pressure was put on her to withdraw it. So go, Jackie. And we need to remember that, when it comes time to vote, that Jackie's from the San Fernando Valley, but wow, she's really shown a lot of courage. And so have other members, Assembly member Damon Connolly, who's from Marin, a lot of courage in trying to fix some of the bad PUC decisions. So there's hope out there, but what we need to do, and what you're doing so well, is getting the word out and getting people riled up enough to vote with their phones and vote with their ballots. For people who are really going to stop the rogue PUC from just giving it up to PG&E.
Well said. A former CPUC president, and we wish she was still the current one, Loretta Lynch. I always love having you on. This isn't going to go away, so we'll be talking again real soon, unfortunately, but fortunately. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Nikki. I really appreciate talking with you.
Woo! All right. So how do you feel? I mean, I loved all the comments. Look, I think that we're not going to get what we want from Governor Newsom. It's sad to say, like I mentioned to Loretta, it's really sad to say that this governor, who I bet you, Kim, like I mentioned in the interview, if he stands his butt up and starts saying, I'm going to protect all Californians from these skyrocketing gas prices and I'm looking into it, my butt, it's not going to happen. So let's forget Newsom. Newsom has been lobbied hard. Obviously, the state legislature has been lobbied hard with all our money.
Yeah.
So we need to vote. That's what we need to do. We need to vote. We need to make Becerra and whoever else is throwing their hat into the governor's race that this is one of the top issues that they are going to tackle for Californians. Because I am telling you, Kim, when you go over how many more rate increases are already being planned, and like Loretta Lynch said, people are making terrible decisions just to keep the freaking lights on, let alone having heat or air conditioning or anything like this. And Harry, I understand you're like, does Newsom realize this could cost him his political future? I don't think that he does. I think that he doesn't think that this is going to touch him at all. And it sucks. I'm so disappointed in him because of it.
I read in the chat that someone said they qualify for the lower income program with your PG&E bill. And even that,
wasn't enough.
Even though they have that, their bills have been lowered by the program, they're still trying to conserve and find ways to make sure they have enough to pay their PG&E bill. It's crazy what's going on. And I mean, I always feel better hearing Loretta Lynch. I feel like someone is writing about it and fighting about it and letting people know about it, because until we are armed with that information, we can't vote appropriately.
Yeah.
I do wish that Katie Porter was running for governor.
I know.
I feel like if she was running for governor, we'd have a candidate who would have our back on this issue.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily know that I trust anyone else now.
Exactly. I mean, I'm Googling Katie Porter for governor. No, it's still, I was like, how sometimes they grab these websites?
No. Did they?
No.
Oh,
I was just
someone
like,
else did.
maybe,
Is
no.
it porn?
It's just the Senate. It's just the Senate one. But sometimes they're like, oh my God, there's this, committee that's looking into. But no, I love Katie Porter. I was disappointed that she lost the Senate race, not by much, but she did. Or she's not going to be in the general. But it is what it is. I think she has a big future. And yeah, Jim's like, I won't vote for Newsom again. He really is showing his cards here. Again, I'm so torn because I do think he's on the right side for so many issues that I care about.
Issues. Not
and we've
all
said
of
this
them,
so many
though.
times, but not all of them.
Yeah.
Not all of them.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
It's hard for me to forget what he did for same-sex marriage in not only California, but the whole United States.
Yep.
I don't want to say that wasn't important because it was.
It was.
But just because you can be right on one issue doesn't mean you're right on every issue. You know?
And it, obviously with reproductive rights and everything like that, like, yes, I agree with him on so many things. And he has been right on certain things, and nobody's perfect. 100% of the time as a politician, and tough decisions need to be made. This is so blatantly wrong that I've lost so much respect for him. And so, it's,
honestly, between that, which this is such a, as you say, call it a blatant issue that he should have our backs on, right? Exactly. He should be on the side of Californians. And as Loretta mentioned in that great interview you just did, this is bad for California businesses. He was a business person before he, rolled into the governor's office. So why doesn't he understand that it's hurting business in California? It's hurting homeowners or ratepayers who are faced with such mounting costs now that people sometimes are checking out of the state looking for lower cost of housing, and lower power bills don't really hurt when you're looking at all of this. So I don't know why he doesn't have our back on this. It's really frustrating. Yeah.
And Eric, you're right. And Kim and I have mentioned this before. We need the media to take him to task on the CPUC, ask him over and over again what he's doing about it. He was just in the Central Valley. He was announcing, because I did it for my job in San Francisco, announcing the new national park, Dos Rios, in Modesto. Yeah. And, there he's just taking questions, and he was talking about the Arizona abortion ban and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, hello, that's important too. But can somebody ask him about PG&E? Like, what the hell? Summer's up right around the corner. This is going to be a huge issue, and it's just blowing my mind that he's not asked it everywhere he goes.
I would argue as a member of the media that we know his stance on reproductive rights.
Exactly.
I love his stance on reproductive rights, but we know it.
Exactly.
The answer that's going to make news in California is, why aren't you doing anything about our power bills?
Right.
How can you have selected all of the members of the current CPUC, rubber stamping all of these increases on all of us? How does that how do you sleep at night?
How do you say that you're protecting all of California? We're one California, when every single Californian that has to have PG&E has to have PG&E. We have no choice. We have to have PG&E is getting screwed every single month. I mean, again, I want to end on an up note.
I know.
Because the truth of the matter is there is a breaking point. And that was Loretta Lynch's point. It's like, no, this can't continue. Businesses are pushing back. Customers are pushing back. Elections are happening. And as long as we, the voter, make it abundantly clear that this is one of our top issues, hopefully we can get the right people in there, and this current CPUC can kick rocks.
100%. Lori says he should be asked every time he appears in public.
What are you doing? There should be like the guy with the sign. You know, the guy with the sign.
Yeah, you're screwing us on PG&E.
Exactly.
100%. Champagne Wishes says he sleeps on the bed of money PG&E gave him.
Bed of lies and a bed of money.
You sleep on a bed of lies.
Exactly.
Well, between that and the whole, and I know you wanted to end it on a positive note, leave it to me to be Debbie Downer. But what about that whole thing? You're trying to sneak legislation through, or sneak these things through with the whole, payment for fast food workers, except for his buddy who, owned
even
whatever
though they're going
restaurant.
to pay for it and all that.
On.
But
right.
But that's a great point, Kim, is when got put in his face, when it became very public, what happened? He responded. The company Panera was like, no, we're totally going to be raising the rate. We're not going to get this caveat written for us. And so that's what has to happen. That's what has to happen.
But he didn't respond publicly and stand up and say,
no, I was
you know
wrong.
what?
Yeah.
This was a bad. They just quietly went, okay, well, I guess that didn't work out. We're just going to.
You're going to have to pay it. Sorry, dude. They noticed.
Ixnay on the, yeah. So it wasn't, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like, we see you. We know what's happening.
We need to be vocal. And that's the truth. And the media needs to hold his feet to the fires with this. And yeah, so, Kim, it is what it is. I know that it's not going to happen soon. We are going to face rate increases. I just can't, I can't handle another rate increase. I can't even imagine, lower income people. If I can't afford it, or even lower income people being able to afford it. And I know we have all of these, programs.
It feels like we're lower income people because we live in the Bay Area. And we're like, what? Yeah. Harry's like surrounding states like Arizona are actively poaching businesses. PG&E is one of their major talking points. I can see why.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we have about 15 minutes left of this live show. Hello. I want to leave time to go over the survey, and I want to leave time to give some major thank yous to all of you who have been supporting the show. Let's do one thing, though, that I've also missed playing, and that, of course, is playing Kim's song.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Maduro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
Couple headlines.
I've missed you. Oh my goodness.
We have to do it.
All right, let's make it happen. Here we go. Guess where we're going?
Okay.
President Biden is willing to debate Donald Trump ahead of the November presidential election. So this came out during an interview today with radio host Howard Stern. President Biden said he doesn't know when, but that he would be happy to debate Trump. The comment comes as the Biden campaign has declined to commit to a debate for months. So now we know.
Yeah, but I don't want it to turn into a screaming fest like it did last time. It was like such an S show. And I think, who was it on CNN that actually called it an S show on CNN? Like a dumpster fire wrapped into something or whatever. So funny. So unless it's going to be a real debate, and there's true moderation in it, moderators, then no, I don't want
You can't really debate Trump. He just barks out these comments in the middle of the statement. It's not a professional, up and up debate. It's just him busting out with lies and interrupting every 5 minutes.
Exactly.
So,
it would be so frustrating to watch. So I don't think I need it. We know at this point where they stand. It's
we know
just
the differences.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, look at Trump and Stormy.
Oh, look at that.
Trump's criminal hush money trial back in session today in New York City. Jurors are once again hearing testimony from former National Enquirer publisher David Pecker. There's a lot of ers there. Pecker, who gave details this week on how he protected Trump from negative stories leading up to the 2016 presidential election. This comes as the judge in the case said he'll consider 4 other Trump gag order violations being alleged by the prosecution. So this is heating up over there.
Yeah, exactly. I feel it's just, I want it to be over, but we have a long way to go. Way to go.
There's a lot of arrests. Hundreds of protesters are against Israel's war in Gaza arrested across the country in the last 2 weeks. Anti-Israel protests or pro-Palestinian protests have sprung up across the country since the New York Police Department arrested more than 100 demonstrators at Columbia University. That was April 18th. The New York Times says since then, protesting students have been setting up tents at campuses across the country, and over 400 protesters have been arrested for refusing to disperse. So this isn't slowing down anytime soon.
It's not. It seems to be hitting a peak, especially within these colleges.
According to Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, presidents really shouldn't have absolute power for their time in office. Or absolute immunity for their actions in office.
No.
That's what the Republican leader told NBC's Meet the Press as the Supreme Court heard arguments on the issue related to former President Trump. And McConnell says he still stands by the comments he made after he voted to acquit Trump following the 2021 Capitol riot insurrection, whatever you want to call it. That's when he said the former president could be held accountable by the justice system. What's interesting is yesterday, Justice Sonia Sotomayor was talking about, okay, well, if they can't find him, if you want him to be impeached first, if that's the process you want to go by instead of a criminal charge, then you can't be impeached because he hasn't broken any criminal laws. So what their argument is, she says, doesn't make sense. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I was listening to a little bit of the Supreme Court kind of debate or the hearing yesterday, and it's the lawyer speaking in favor of no immunity, was basically making the case like, yes, we know that in the job of being president and those core jobs, the little umbrellas that, commander in chief and all those sorts of things. Yes. But the justices could carve out this specific thing of, not everything is political, right? Not every decision a president makes is political. But what happened what led to January 6th is such a unique case that you can carve something out like that. So I don't know. I have no idea. If they grant him complete immunity, I'm going to lose my freaking mind. I'll be as angry as this freaking forest fire picture right in front of us.
A couple of stories from California before we wrap it up. Some Californians are about to pay a lot more to protect their homes. Look at us paying more for PG&E and more for home insurance. The rates are going up for those on the FAIR plan. That's the state's insurer of last resort. Many in high-risk areas for wildfires covered by this after being dropped by major insurance companies, and it means that they're likely already shelling out thousands extra because of the switch. Now the FAIR Plan president says to expect a substantial increase.
Fabulous.
And a bill targeting California's insurance crisis is advancing. It requires companies to consider wildfire mitigation efforts when setting the price of property coverage for homeowners. Lawmakers say that this will address the cost and availability of fire insurance in the state. The bill passed one committee this week, moves on to another now. This comes as several providers have either stopped writing policies or left the state altogether. I did hear yesterday that Allstate has resumed writing policies in California.
Oh, that's good news. Okay.
So there is that. San Francisco police are starting a new crackdown on unsafe drivers. Beware if you're driving in San Francisco. They unveiled a plan yesterday to deploy waves of officers at 9 of the city's most dangerous intersections for crashes. The officers will rotate through twice a week, 2 hours a day, once every 3 weeks. So far this year, police have issued nearly 2,900 traffic tickets, putting them on track to surpass last year's total of 5,100. So they're coming for you if you're speeding through the city. That's the way. And one tidbit, if you like to experience the grandeur of Golden Gate Park, that's something kind of fun. The Golden Gate Park area making it easier to go roller skating. Ooh. So you don't have to bring your own skates anymore if you don't have them, because starting very soon, tomorrow, as a matter of fact, you can start renting skates. It's at the Skatin' Place, the area off JFK Promenade, where people have been gathering for decades to rollerblade and skate.
Well, that's fun.
The rentals will be available weekends, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., $20 for an hour for people 13 and older.
Oh, that's fun. I like that idea. That's pretty good. Awesome. Look at San Francisco trying to make some positive news over here.
This report is sponsored by you, which means we really do count on you to help us crowdfund The Nikki Maduro Show. Thank you for that and all the ways you support the show. Find us at thenikkimaduroshow.com, Patreon, PayPal, it's all there. And the super chat and super stickers open even when we're recorded. I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Nikki Maduro Show.
Yeah, let me give some thank yous and then I'll get to the survey before we wrap up the show, which again, stay with Mark Thompson right after this show. And then Kim is going to have Tim Sika on this Friday. Yep. We do love being live. And thank you guys so much for showing that you love us live. Joanne came in with a $5 donation. So did Marilyn as well. Harry came in with a $5. Hey. 5 for live. And I love it. Let's see. Debbie, $10 live show. Yay, happy Friday, Nikki and Kim. Will Tim Sika be on today on the After Party Live at 1 o'clock? Tim Sika will be there.
He'll be on at 1:30 on the After Party Live.
Perfect. Yep. Mimi came in with $10 super sticker. Thank you. Lady Beatrice, thank you for the $5 donation. She wrote, insurance companies get too much freedom to screw over their customers. If they can sue, they should. I agree completely. Yep. Scott, thank you so much for the $20 donation. He said, thanks, Loretta. You're an angel 100%. Can you touch on power stealers, neighbors stealing PG&E from other neighbors with illegal hookups, breaching property lines? That's completely illegal. Yeah. Remember when, and we'll have Loretta Lynch on again, so we'll save that question, Scott, and thank you again for the $20. But remember when all those homes were building the grow houses, turning them into grow houses?
Yes.
That's what they were doing. They were snaking, power from other places. And so you can call the cops over that. You don't have to ask PG&E. That is completely illegal. Okay, so let's, in the last couple of minutes, go over the survey results and kind of, now we're not going to come up with a decision right here and now. Kim and I will talk afterwards, but I wanted to go over some of the survey results. And again, if you guys want to take the survey, it's in the show notes. Just look for the sign. It just says new survey here. It's one question. The question was, since the Nikki Maduro show is no longer live every day, would you rather, one, have recorded content put out every day, which is the current change, but it's short, have one long recorded show each week to enable the live chat to be up longer, and then the final one was have one live weekly show with the understanding that it may vary in what day and time it is due to the fact that, well, for me personally, at least, I'm having other jobs. I work in San Francisco. I'm going through the process of becoming a substitute teacher, so I need to be available for that. So what's winning right now is to have one live weekly show with the understanding that the day and the time would change. Now, Kim and I will discuss this. It's tough because, we like consistency. I like consistency. I could say right now, we're going to do a live show every Friday, but I might be in San Francisco on a Friday. Yep. So then maybe we'll do a Friday show, but then it's not at the same time. And the whole point is for the live to be here. See, this is why it's difficult. Like, I want to be able to give you guys, the viewers and the listeners, consistency so you know when we're live. Now, of course, if you hit that subscribe button and the bell, that can help it. And of course, we always put up the screen the night before so you have an idea. But that's the problem. Thank you, Jim, for the $5 super sticker. So that's kind of the problem here is, I need flexibility to be available for my other job because I just have to make more money. I'd love to continue to grow the finances of this show. We're just not there yet where I can't work a second job. I need to work a second or maybe even a third job. You know what I mean? So
I feel like if we don't do the show, at least a bite-sized show every day, then you kind of, I don't know, get out of the practice of coming to see it.
Exactly. Now, some people said, consider, this was the latest one, consider doing them live in the evening on a schedule. Streamers do this and it works. Most people of all age demographics are home in the evening. So this was one of the latest ones. That's a really good idea. My problem is it'd have to be a little early in the evening if I work in San Francisco the next day because I wake up at the butt crack of dawn, so I have to go to bed at the butt crack of dawn. But hey, you guys continue to fill out the survey, okay? Randy likes the short pre-recorded shows every day with a live show whenever you can. That's also a good idea. So let us just talk about it. We will, of course, keep all of you informed. Fill out the survey, keep giving us ideas. And thank you so much for being flexible because we need the flexibility and we need to grow the show financially. And any way you can support the show sends us the message to keep it going. All right, guys. So we really appreciate you. Stay right here for the Mark Thompson Show. And then, of course, the After Party Live with Kim McAllister. She'll have Tim Sika on it at 1:30. We love you guys. Thank you so much. Have a very happy weekend and happy anniversary, 50th anniversary to my parents.
Yay!
Their 50th anniversary is tomorrow. So that's what I'm going to be doing this weekend. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.